7-year-old Emma had been counting down the days to her first summer at Camp Maple Fern, a cozy little camp tucked deep in the woods surrounded by pine trees, a sparkling lake, and campfires that crackled under the stars. She shared her tent with 3 other campers: Sophie, who loved animals; Liam, who always told funny stories; and Jay, who carried a tiny notebook everywhere he went. Everything seemed perfect until the 3rd night. Just as they were all zipping into their sleeping bags and whispering stories, a soft green glow appeared at the back of their tent. Not bright, but enough to light up the canvas like a lantern. Emma sat up. Did someone leave a flashlight on? Liam shook his head. Nope, mine's under my pillow. Sophie peeked outside. No one's there. Jay scribbled something into his notebook. That's not normal, he mumbled. That's a clue. The glow slowly faded. Nothing was left behind, no light source, no noise, not even footprints outside, just the faint scent of mint leaves. Okay, that's weird, Emma whispered. Weird means mystery, Jay said, eyes wide. The next morning, when the camp bell rang for breakfast, Emma and Jay found something strange: a tiny silver coin lying outside their tent, stamped with the words, Fern Circle number 4. No one else at camp seemed to know what it meant. But Emma had already decided one thing: they were going to solve the mystery of the glowing tent and whatever Fern Circle number 4 meant. After breakfast, Emma slipped the silver coin into her pocket. She, Jay, Sophie, and Liam joined the others at the lake. That morning's activity: canoe races. As they waited for their turn, Jay froze mid-step. Guys, he whispered, look at that canoe. On the side of an old red canoe, partly hidden by moss, was a strange carved symbol: a circle with 4 curving lines pointing outward, just like the design on the coin. And under it, words carved in shaky handwriting. Fern Circle. Emma quickly pulled the silver coin from her pocket. It's the same. This carving matches. Sophie blinked. So this isn't just a pretty coin. It's part of a clue. Jay grabbed his notebook and sketched the symbol. 4 lines, 4 directions. Maybe they mark different places around camp? Why would anyone hide stuff like this? Liam asked. Is it a game or a secret? Just then, the counselors called them for the next canoe race. The mystery would have to wait, but after lunch, the 4 friends met back at the red canoe. Jay, with his detective eyes, spotted something inside: a tiny crack between the wooden planks. Inside was a rolled-up paper scroll. Emma carefully pulled it free and unrolled it. It read, Follow the trail where the ferns grow wild. Liam gulped. You don't think they mean the fern trail, right? The spooky one behind the craft cabin? Sophie nodded. That's exactly what they mean. Jay was already writing it down. Then we'll go. Tomorrow morning. Emma felt her heart beating faster. Summer camp was becoming something way cooler than s'mores and swimming. It was turning into a real mystery. The next morning, after art class and bug-catching games, Emma, Jay, Sophie, and Liam slipped away from the crowd and met at the edge of the fern trail, the quiet, winding path behind the craft cabin that barely anyone ever used. The sign was old and crooked, and ferns grew so thick along the sides that the path looked like it was being swallowed by green fingers. Emma led the way, holding a flashlight even though it was still daytime. Jay followed close behind, studying the rolled-up clue again. Sophie carried a magnifying glass just in case, and Liam brought snacks. Because, of course, the trail twisted and turned, and just as they were about to turn back, Sophie gasped. Look! She pointed to the ground. Between the ferns, barely visible under the leaves, was a line of painted stones, each one marked with a small green fern symbol. Jay knelt down. Someone left these as a guide. The stones led them deeper into the trail, past buzzing insects, chirping birds, and a fallen log that looked just a little too perfectly placed. Liam said, This feels like a movie. Emma whispered, A real-life mystery movie. Finally, the stones stopped near an enormous boulder. On its side was a mark. Circle. Fern. Number 2. Emma frowned. Number 2? But our coin said number 4. Sophie snapped her fingers. What if there are 4 fern circles hidden around camp? And this is the 2nd? Jay nodded. Each one might have a clue. And if we find all 4, we unlock something. Suddenly, a faint buzzing sound filled the air. Not like bees, more like humming. They turned toward the boulder. Behind it, in the shade, was a small box half buried. Emma picked it up and opened it. Inside was a fern-shaped pin and another note. To find the next, listen at night. The 3rd fern glows in silent light. Liam blinked. Glows in silent light? What does that mean? Sophie whispered. Maybe the moon? They all looked up at the sky. The third clue would come after sunset. That night, after marshmallow roasting and ghost-free ghost stories, the campers settled into their tents. But Emma, Jay, Sophie, and Liam stayed extra quiet, pretending to be asleep. Once the camp was still and the only sounds were chirping crickets and the soft rustle of the trees, Emma whispered, "Now?" Jay nodded and zipped open the tent slowly. With flashlights off, they tiptoed across the field and toward the quietest part of Camp Maple Fern, the old amphitheater near the woods. No one used it anymore, but it was a perfect spot for something to glow in silent light. The moon was full, casting silver across the benches. The four friends spread out, scanning the area. Then Sophie gasped, "Over here." Near the base of the stone stage was a fern, glowing faintly in soft green light, not from a bulb, but something painted with glow-in-the-dark ink. Emma stepped closer. Behind the glowing fern was a rock shaped like a wedge. She pulled it loose, and inside was a third note, "Fern circle number 3, you followed light, sound, and stone. But the final path begins where shadows are thrown." Jay's eyes lit up. Shadows. That means where shadows fall. Maybe at sunrise? Sophie turned the note over. On the back was a sketch. It looked like the main flagpole by the dining hall, but the shadow of the flag was pointing to the woods. Emma whispered, "The fourth circle. We'll only see it if we follow the flag's shadow at sunrise." Liam nodded. "Then tomorrow morning, we wake up early." The four friends snuck back to their tent, trying not to giggle with excitement. They had 3 fern circles, 1 to go, and whatever was at the end felt like more than just a game. Before the morning bell rang, even before the birds began their songs, Emma woke first. She gently nudged the others. Time to follow the shadow. Still yawning but buzzing with excitement, the 4 friends snuck out of their tent and headed toward the flagpole near the dining hall. The sky was still purple-blue, and the first golden rays of sunlight were just peeking over the trees. As the light hit the tall flagpole, it cast a long shadow stretching across the grass, past the stone fire circle, and directly into the woods behind the amphitheater. "There it is," whispered Sophie, "just like the drawing." They followed the shadow's path into the trees. The morning air was cool, and the leaves were still wet with dew. After a few minutes, Liam stopped. "Look, a pile of rocks, with a fern pin stuck in it." They rushed over. Beneath the rocks was a small wooden box much older than the others. Emma opened it with care. Inside was the 4th coin, marked Fern Circle number 1. Underneath it lay a folded piece of parchment, aged, yellowed, and tied with string. Jay carefully unrolled it. It was a map. Not just any map, a full drawing of Camp Maple Fern, with 4 fern circles marked on it. And in the very center, a red X. Sophie pointed. "That's the old treehouse, the one near the cliffs." Emma's heart pounded. "My big brother said that place has been closed for years." Jay smiled wide. "Then that's exactly where we're going." The final clue had been found. The pieces were together. Now, all that was left was the secret hidden at the X. With the hand-drawn map tucked into J's notebook and all 4 fern coins safe in Emma's backpack, the group made their way to the old cliffs, a quiet off-limits part of Camp Maple Fern where the abandoned treehouse stood. The air was still. Even the birds seemed to be holding their breath. The treehouse had once been grand, a big wooden structure nestled between 2 tall trees, with rope ladders, wooden railings, and windows looking out over the forest. Now, vines curled up its supports, and the wood was covered in moss and age. Emma climbed first, carefully testing each rung. The others followed. Inside, the treehouse was dusty and full of cobwebs, but in the center of the floor was a carved circle with 4 little indents. Jay whispered, "The coins." Emma pulled them out, and one by one, they fit perfectly into the slots. The moment the 4th coin clicked into place, a wooden panel slid open beneath their feet, revealing a secret compartment. Inside was an old tin box. On top sat a note, "To the brave friends of Fern Circle. You have solved what others forgot. What you find here is not gold or toys, but a treasure for those with curious hearts." Emma opened the tin box. Inside were letters from campers long ago, full of jokes, stories, and dreams. Tiny drawings of secret camp maps. Photos of kids gathered in this very treehouse decades earlier. And a Fern Circle journal, filled with mystery games and puzzles they had created together. Sophie smiled. "This was their secret club," Liam said, "and now, we're part of it." Jay flipped to the final page of the journal. A blank spot with 4 words, "Next Keepers." One by one, they signed their names. And just like that, the fern circle was alive again. The next day, the four friends couldn't stop smiling. They had discovered a secret hidden for decades, but even more than that, they had become part of something bigger, something meaningful. At lunch, they met under the big pine near the lake and opened the fern circle journal again. "I think," said Jay, "we should keep it going." Sophie nodded. "What if we leave new clues for other campers to find?" "Yeah," said Liam. "We could make our own riddle trail." Emma smiled wide. "And at the end, they'll find this treehouse, just like we did." That afternoon, while the other kids played tag and painted rocks, the four of them wrote their first riddle together. They rolled it up, sealed it with a green ribbon, and hid it in a tiny bottle near the amphitheater. Jay scribbled a new entry in the journal. "Summer, Year 1, the fern circle lives again. Emma, Jay, Sophie, and Liam, the new keepers of the secret." That night, as the sun dipped behind the trees and the campfire crackled, Emma looked around at the circle of smiling kids. She whispered, "No one knows yet, but someone will find the first clue tomorrow." Jay whispered back, "And when they do, the mystery will begin again." The four friends bumped fists in the dark, a quiet, glowing promise beneath the stars. Because Camp Maple Fern was more than just a place to play. It was a place where stories were hidden, and friendship was the real treasure.